Whoa, Paul has props. I love it. If anyone is watching and can remember the city where Nirvana was from, not Seattle, Aberdeen. That is not a big city. That is a pretty small city.
That's a city in Scotland. I mean, why is it with you Americans? And it's like, I was sailed from England, and where did I land? New England.
Yeah.
Do you not invent your new names for places? I mean, Aberdeen is Scottish. There's Cardiff by the Sea, which is ridiculous.
There's Manchester, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
I mean, New York is York. So.
Well,
it used to be New Amsterdam.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But where's Metropolis?
Metropolis is in Delaware, according to DC Maps, and Gotham is in New Jersey. So already comics have made Delaware more interesting than it has ever been. Aside from, what is it? That's the place where there's like zero interest. So that's where all the credit card companies are.
Yeah.
And, Joe Biden's from there. So I guess that makes it less interesting. Anyway, you guys are watching RPadTV. I am Raymond, joined by Mr. Luthor. On the top left is Marcus Peer. Next to him
for this.
is the son of Semel, Paul Semel. And we are going to talk about Superman, the latest movie, the first movie in James Gunn's new DC universe, the second work in the DCU, followed by Creature Commandos, and James Gunn's third DC work ever, following the Suicide Squad. We have lots of thoughts on this, so we will not go into the customary Paul Semel website update, but please go to Paul Semel's website. There is a direct link in the video description on Facebook and YouTube. It's right there under his name. But yeah, it's a fun read. You will learn things and become a better person. But Paul, let's kick things off with yes. Oh yeah, Paul is considering an OnlyFans career. If you have any suggestions for him, he has been told that feet are the way to go for him. I was thinking chest hair personally, just show off that awesome bear rug.
I think just dribbling some honey on his head and letting it come down, and he just.
So, if anybody wants me to be on their podcast, one that's more respectable.
Hey, we're trying to fill your bank account, man. Paul, let's start with your Blue Sky review of Superman.
There we go. So, Superman was good. Not great, not terrible, but good. Lots of it worked. Krypto, Lois, goofy Green Lantern. But it never sparked the way the best Marvel movies do. That said, I'm not sorry I paid to see it in theaters, though I wouldn't have been sorry had I waited for it to be on HBO either.
I actually had a hard time getting this into a bite-sized version. I had many thoughts. So I ended up with, as a lifelong comics nerd, I love what James Gunn did with Superman. It's a hopeful and uplifting movie that's filled with a ton of nods and Easter eggs that pay respects to past Superman creatives. As a massive fan of Justice League International, I never imagined seeing Guy Gardner in a movie. Dream realized. And Marcus, I know you don't play much on Blue Sky, but give us your bite-sized review.
Stellar cast. Strong start, strong ending. Middle of the movie kind of struggled for me. I think I'll remember the cast and their characters more than I will the actual plot of the film.
Fair enough. Now let's move on. Uh-oh. The Epstein list has been revealed. I don't know how that happened. Mr. Cotter. I always liked Horshack the best because his name is Horshack, and that's just. And
I apologize for lying down, but I got a broken back. So
he does have. What do you have? 2 broken vertebrae?
No, one was repaired 6 weeks ago, but the other one I've got to go in a week on Monday to get removed. So yeah.
I like it. I like this sexy podcasting pose that you're doing. I think you should do all future appearances like this. Yes.
Hey, it's easy. I've got the best bed in the world.
Yeah.
I splashed on a Tempur-Pedic, and this is great.
And be like, just raise your elbow 2 inches. Okay, that's it. Give me sexy. Give me angry. I love it.
And give you constipated. How's that?
No, well, painkillers will do that. So I wanted to talk about, in a broad sense, what you thought Gunn did with the movie tonally. So I will ask you, Marcus Beer, how did you feel about the tone James Gunn set, especially in regards to today's socio-political climate?
I think really it's great timing. I think one of the I saw a quote from somebody saying Superman is to today, and these times we're going through, what Ted Lasso was to.
Ooh, that's great.
Ted Lasso gave us hope and this quality without being so cheesy. And I will say, Superman, it didn't come across as cheesy. There were no nods, no winks. It wasn't super heavy. It wasn't as dark as Snyder's. But I think the way they tackled it, I mean, it's definitely interesting how, the whole immigrant thing and how the idiots on the right have responded to it. Oh, it's woke. No, he's an immigrant. He's from another planet. You plum. So yeah, I think it fits our current narrative. It'll be interesting to see if this is a trend that continues with James Gunn's movies in the DCU, because even not just his, but the vision. And I'm definitely wondering what happens with Matt Reeves' Batman 2.
Right.
I know they said they're different universes, which really sucks, because I really do think that the current Superman and
Robert Pattinson,
yeah, they would play off each other so well. I mean, you've got the dark and you've got the light. I think that's a casting combination that really could do some amazing things, and I hope they bring that Batman into the DC universe. But yeah, look, we're living in horrible times. If you have a skin tone, you're being targeted. If you have a funny accent, you're being targeted.
Paul.
I think this whole, there's a lot of things they touched on. I mean, the bit that made me laugh is the monkeys doing the social media.
Yes.
I thought that was so on point, because we know that 80% of all social media is basically a bunch of crap coming out of, India and lots of other, supposed sweatshop countries.
But didn't they do that bit in was it Simpsons or Family Guy that showed that bit? It was some animated.
Mr. Burns had 100 monkeys typing away or whatever.
Right.
Was. And they came up with a great American novel. It was the best of times. It was the blurst of times.
Right. Because the theory is that if you had whatever X amount of monkeys, they would eventually recreate American literature on their own. So,
yeah. If you had an infinite number of monkeys on an infinite number of typewriters, they would eventually write the complete works of Shakespeare.
That's right. That was it.
And I don't know who came up with that. Yeah.
That's excellent.
How do you feel, Raymond? Because I mean, let's face it, you have a skin tone. You have you you're an American. But I'm saying you're an American of foreign descent, and I'm a Brit who's over here, and yet you're the one who'll get pulled. Because right now Trump seems to like Britain, and then that'll all change at some point. And then the only person left in the country is Paul Semel.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the most uncomfortable I've ever been in this country, which is strange. I mean, there are certain places that I just won't go to. I'll feel fine in any city that's densely populated and diverse, but we were talking before camera, saying I had a friend that moved to Idaho or Iowa, one of the I's, and he was like, "Hey, when are you going to come visit?" I'm like, "Never." you know what color my skin is, right? So, but even some places, like if I drove to Phoenix on the way, there's a lot of rural areas where I would be a little scared and a little uncomfortable, just going out in getting a drink at the gas station or whatever. But yeah, and I completely agree with you that this is the tone that we need right now. But also, just following Zack Snyder, who, I did not like his take on Superman. I know that some people really like the Man of Steel. I'm not one of those people. I didn't hate it, but overall, I just didn't like how his dark tone and making Superman, playing up the Messiah aspect of Superman. I know he's a big Fountainhead fan and whatever, but yeah, I am not. So I'm not one of those objectionist people. I like this version of Superman that Gunn put forth. The whole movie was just bright and hopeful, and not just the writing, but the use of color, the way he used music, the fact that Superman was a guy that needed help, even though he has these amazing powers. He would have died if it wasn't for his girlfriend and his dog. So
Yeah.
I love that, Superman needed help, even from like the jackass Green Lantern, who I adore.
So going back to the Snyder thing,
yes,
Snyder had such a strong cast, and he pissed it away. I mean, I thought Affleck as Batman could have been a really good, Dark Knight Returns kind of Batman.
Absolutely.
I thought Cavill was a great, potentially a great Superman. He looked like it. He had everything else, but he was wasted. Yeah, if Snyder could have had a lighter touch, he wasted Doomsday. He wasted Batman v Superman.
I completely agree on all of that. I blame Ayn Rand and his worship of Ayn Rand on that. How about you, Paul? What did you think of the general tone that James Gunn used for Superman?
Well, you kind of hit upon this earlier. Like, to me, it was the most comic booky version of a Superman movie.
Yes.
Like, even more so than like some of the animated ones, and certainly more than any of the live action ones. It felt like a comic book. I mean, you can't, like, the fact that the Guy Gardner with that hair was in the movie, like, that's and we'll get to talking about him more, I'm sure, in a minute. And I did like the lighter tone because it fit what he was going for. What was interesting to me is there were certain political things that I didn't pick up on when I was watching it. Like, people pointed out, they said that the whole the one country invading the other country was a lot like Israel invading Palestine, and that guy was Netanyahu, and like they were like, oh, James Gunn has come out and said that he's pro-Palestine, and I was just kind of watching it going like, yeah, this is like not unique to this situation. This has happened before, and it will happen again, and there's it's like there's that scene where like the president of Barovia is getting his ass kissed by his aides, and like I'm sure a lot of people were like, "Oh my God, that's totally Donald Trump," and it's like, yeah, and it's Donald Trump and like 87 other dictators.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Again, Donald Trump is not unique; he's cliche.
I think Luther's more like Donald Trump in this. I mean, that whole angle. I mean, Luther's 1,000 times smarter, but that whole angling for Lutherland or whatever the hell he wanted they wanted to call it. It does remind me of what Trump said about redeveloping the entire Gaza Strip and forcing the Palestinians out.
Right.
To oh yes, the Trump Gaza estates or whatever.
And then I could see JD Vance with a magic marker, like making Vanceville or something like that.
Yeah.
They did make the Otis in this movie. They did make his full name Otis Berg, which I thought was hilarious. If you saw it in the credits, I thought that was a funny nod to the movies. Let's stick on the positive tip. And Paul, what was your favorite aspect of Superman?
Well, there was a bunch of things that I liked that they managed to pull off. First of all, I liked Guy Gardner, which is weird because in the comics, I don't like him. And one of the reasons that I like him in the movie was that he wasn't a serious character. You can't have somebody with that hair be a serious character. Like, and this is the thing, Snyder never would have put that guy in the movie, and if he had,
No
he would have made him a serious character, and it wouldn't have worked. But they didn't make him serious in this, and they made him unserious in a comic book way, and so that was one of the things that I liked. I also thought the action was really, really good. And one thing I did like that I thought was sort of like the Snyder stuff was that they showed the real consequences of the fighting. Like there's that whole scene when like they're knocking over all these gigantic buildings.
Right.
Like I thought, like that's something like I don't remember seeing in like earlier Superman movies, except for Man of Steel and the other ones. Was good. The revelation about his parents, his Kryptonian parents, kind of a ballsy move, a big change from canon.
Yeah.
I think it worked. It reminded me a little of Invincible, which makes me wonder if he
very much
that.
so. Very much so. Or read it.
But
I mean, the comics.
Yeah. Yeah. And I liked that they were very, very clear. No, this was not like bullshit. This was not manipulated. This is not a scam. Like it's been verified by like all these different people. Like this is really what they said. Like, and I like that they stuck with that and went with it. I thought it made for an interesting story.
How about you, Marcus? What was your favorite aspect of the Superman movie?
I think in the sort of like the third act where he really sort of like, after he recovered from the kryptonite poisoning, and he just went bananas and started kicking the shit out of everything. I mean, just watching him use the heat vision to destroy all those
the Raptors,
Lex Raptors, that was really, really good, and it was a very strong finish. And then I've just got to say, and I know we'll go into this later. It's the cast. The cast all the way down. I mean, the engineer was so good. I actually didn't really like Mom Pa Kent.
Oh,
they did. Yeah, I could have done without them. To be honest with you, but yeah, everything else, the casting. I loved Crypto.
Yes,
I'm a dog person, and I was worried about how they'd fit Crypto in. And when they had that little scene at the end where Kara comes in. And it turns out Crypto is hers.
Yes,
that was great. That was great. It just felt natural, and I loved the Fortress Guardians. I loved how the Fortress of Solitude went up and down like a yo-yo. There was a lot to really, really enjoy. The ingredients were superb. The actual cake at the end of it was very uneven to me. And it didn't feel like this is the thing. It didn't feel like a James Gunn movie.
Very much so, or what we've come to expect from him. Maybe his movies will be different in the future. But as an aside, I was reading an article that there has been a spike in dog adoptions since Superman came out, which I think is awesome, because Crypto is based on James Gunn's rescue dog that apparently destroyed his office one day.
I just hope that everybody who's adopting dogs now, like people did during the pandemic, keep them and realize that these dogs are for life. They're not just for Superman, the dog.
Yeah, that's been a problem in the past. Like when the 101 Dalmatians came out a few years ago, there was like a massive run on like people wanting to adopt Dalmatians, and apparently Dalmatians are not easy dogs to like have around. They take a lot of work. They're very high maintenance. And so then what you ended up having was just tons of people wanting Dalmatians, and then 3 months later, everybody giving them back. And that's always the problem when there's like some dog thing becomes trendy. So,
Interesting.
But it's interesting that this time it seems like the trend isn't that people are going to adopt the specific dog. It's like they're just going to pounds and looking for mutts, and you know what I mean? Like,
are they looking for ugly dog in a cape? Which I thought that was a funny line by Lex.
I guarantee you that's going to be the number one Halloween accessory this year, is everybody's dog dressed up as Crypto.
So as Paul was saying, this felt like one of the most comic booky movies, certainly for Superman ever. And I love that aspect of the movie. But what really struck me was how they emphasized the man in Superman, which is something Zack Snyder was very much emphasizing the super. And if you distill it, there are two conversations that I guess Clark had with Lois. The interview in the beginning, which went on for about 10 minutes, and the conversation after he trashes Lex's office and before he turns himself in, which is about 5 minutes. So that's like a quarter, or it's like 10% of the movie right there. And it really gets into the essence of how hopeful Superman is and how he's really someone who just doesn't want to see anyone die, whether it's a person, whether it's saving a squirrel from a kaiju, which is funny, but also true. But I also love that he said, when they were talking about, what really is punk rock music, and when Clark says, maybe believing everyone has something good and beautiful about them, maybe that's the real punk rock. And it sounds cheesy as hell, but it's so true to what I think Superman is that, people talk about Superman and Batman being similar, but different. But yes, I mean, Superman is eternally hopeful. Batman is eternally cynical. But at the end of the day, they're both people that don't want to see anyone else die. And I love that they got that across with Superman. I love how James Gunn handled it. I was very happy with it. But what I wasn't happy with, and now we're going to get into stuff we didn't like about the movie, I absolutely hated how Lex controlled Ultraman. It doesn't make sense to me on a comic book level. Unless James Gunn gave him superpowers, Lex is not thinking at super speed. So there's no way he could compete with Superman tactically. He's certainly not speaking at super speed. So when he controls Ultraman with his, 1A, 12C with his battleship commands, he wouldn't speak fast enough for them to work on Superman. There are even times where, he's flashing signs to his minions about what move to use. They're not thinking or speaking at super speed or typing at super speed. So in my head, that doesn't work. Like the way they're controlling Ultraman as mere mortals, it can't compete with a guy that thinks and moves at super speed. So that didn't work for me at all. That is very much a comic book nerd thing. So I don't expect many people to care about that, but that just bugged the hell out of me. How about you, Paul? What did you not like about Superman?
I mean, most of the things, not all, but most of the things that I can think of were just sort of little nitpicky things. Like there was nothing in this movie that sort of was like a fatal flaw. Like, like when Chris Tucker did a really terrible Prince impression in The Fifth Element and completely destroyed that movie for me.
That's
like, for example, like Hawk Girl. She's supposed to be an alien. Why wasn't she an alien? What was going on there?
Well, it depends. There have been incarnations of Hawk Girl where she's just a spirit, a reincarnated Egyptian spirit that transfers to another human. But depends who's
all right. Yeah. One of the other ones, this is just weird. Why was Cat Grant there? And why did she have a low-cut shirt and like a really terrible boob job?
Because that's what Gotham columnists wear.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like there may have been like a scene where like she flirts with Clark and Clark blows her off, and it's supposed to show that Clark only has eyes for Lois, but like it just seemed really weird.
Yeah, I mean,
it didn't really make any sense to me.
There have been versions of that character in the comics that look pretty similar to that. The actor is also someone that has appeared in a lot of James Gunn's works, so that's why.
Right, but I don't know what the point of having her there was. Like, she didn't do anything. She didn't serve any purpose. Like, it's, you could have removed her from the movie and nobody would have noticed.
Well, I mean, it's just rounding out a newspaper staff. Like, why have the sports journalists there? Because
yeah, but he added more. He brought more to he was more a part of the team than in the movie sense. I think the biggest thing for me, though, and I can't help but compare this to the Marvel movies because those are the sort of superhero movies of the day, is it just didn't have the effortless energy of the best Marvel movies. Like when you sit down and watch some of those Marvel movies, like you bang, it's over. You're like, wow, that was great. I didn't even realize 2 hours had passed. And this didn't have that. It was the most even keeled of any of the superhero DC movies of the last few years, and certainly way better than a bunch of the last, all the last bunch, really, Flash and Blue Beetle and whatnot. But it didn't sort of fly by the way like the Avengers movies did. Like, and there was no moments in any of these movies when like I gotta chill. Like there's Marvel movies where even though I've seen them like 20, 30 times, like something happens and I'm like, ooh, get that chill, and
Right.
and nothing, there was nothing like that in this. There was no super, I mean, I need to see it again, of course, to figure that out, but like there wasn't like a singular memorable scene where I was like, yes.
Okay, that's fair. I will disagree with you on the pacing. I felt very differently. To me, it felt like a 90-minute movie, not a 2-hour one, even though, what is it, like 2 hours 10, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was pretty impressed by the pacing. How about you, Marcus? What did you not like about Superman?
Following on from Paul's point, it was a good ensemble movie, but there was no Tony Stark, there was no Robert Downey Jr., there was no one who owned that movie, which could be a problem, because you do need something to stand out and something to be memorable. I mean, Christopher Reeve owned the Superman movies. I mean,
Sure.
He had Gene Hackman and Margot Kidder and all that, but it was Christopher Reeve, and he was emanating. And that's something that we haven't had since. And I don't think, is it Corn Sweat? Corn Sweet?
Yes, Corn Sweat.
Yeah. I just think he's perfectly serviceable as Superman, but he doesn't. There's that line he said, "Hey, buddy, eyes on me," but no, why? You're boring. I mean, he's so different. There's actually no magnetism there. So, based on what Paul said, I agree with him. I don't think there's the magnetic standout character or actor in the ensemble, but they're a great ensemble. I'm going to have one particular bone to pick, and it's Jimmy fucking Olsen. Jimmy Olsen, sex god? Really?
We're talking about that later, but yes.
Oh, sorry. I thought we were just talking about.
Okay.
Anyway,
but you didn't like that? Okay.
Yeah, it was totally unbelievable to me.
Yeah.
And he felt, again, much like Cat Grant. I mean, he was there to do some things like post stories and stuff like that. But
right, but it tied into the story though. His relationship with Miss Tessmacher helped save the day.
Yeah, it didn't feel believable. I mean, Jimmy Olsen's super schlong just doesn't really.
For what it's worth, I saw it in the theaters twice already, and I'll probably see it again. But his scenes with Miss Tessmacher got the biggest laughs in the theater, and both times that I went. So it's resonating with someone. So I don't know.
Yeah,
people seem to really love it. There's been talk of, I mean, not from James Gunn, but people have been like, they want a Jimmy Olsen spin-off show.
Jimmy Olsen dates half of Metropolis.
I don't get
the actor's good. I got no problem with the actor. Maybe it's because Jimmy Olsen in the comic books is a more powerful character. I mean, he's more integral in a lot of ways. And this time round, he just felt anybody could fill that role.
Fair enough. And to be fair, I mean, how many years has Superman been a character? Like, if you're counting radio, he's been here for
1,830 years.
About 100 years.
He was written by a million monkeys.
There have been incarnations of Jimmy Olsen where he is a ladies' man, even though he's still portrayed with the bow tie and the freckles and the goofy hair. So
He's a daywalker. Come on, he's a ginge.
So let's talk about the three leads. Obviously, we have to start with Superman. But Paul, what did you think of David Cornsweet's performance as Superman and Clark Kent?
I thought he was really good for this movie. He was really good for a comic booky, somewhat upbeat, slightly naive, wholesome Superman. Like if he had been Superman in like Man of Steel, it just really wouldn't have worked. And by the same token, I think as much as I love Henry Cavill as Superman, in some ways like him better, he would not have worked in this movie. He absolutely would not have worked in this movie. And in fact, one of the interesting things that I noticed was Cornsweet was not nearly as built as Henry Cavill, and was not nearly as built as a lot of superheroes are when they're supposed to be like super strong, like Drax or something. Which again, I think really worked for this movie, because I think again, if he had been, built like The Rock, like it wouldn't have worked as well. When in the beginning you see him getting his ass kicked.
Right. Also harder to disguise, even if you wear a suit that's a size too big, like he did in the movie. If you're The Rock size, you're not hiding your size that way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, you see when you see The Rock, like he's in like a custom made suit, and he still looks like like you could snap your neck with his thumb, and so and in fact, I think that this guy is the first. I mean, because Christopher Reeve wasn't built either, because they didn't really do that back then. Like they didn't make you like eat chicken breasts and work out 18 hours a day.
Right.
He was a little built though, because he was so skinny when they initially cast him. And
well,
so he did a lot of work. So actually, he did have a physique. He wasn't ripped like Henry Cavill.
Right. He wasn't
Henry
like
just
right.
frightening.
Yes. Like when you see the guy who plays Wolverine, Jackman. Like when you see Jackman with his shirt off when he's playing Wolverine, like he's a jacked man.
Yes.
And that's like what you get. Henry Cavill was a jacked man, and Cornsweet just seemed like
Brandon Routh was pretty big too. So let's not forget him.
Brandon Routh was pretty big, but like Cornsweet kind of, like I said, he went back to the beginning, and he kind of reminded me in a weird way of the guy George Reeves who played Superman in the TV show from like the 1940s, I think, black and white one that I watched a lot when I was a kid, who was kind of a little dumpy, but it worked because you're like, I'm Superman, I can lift this boat. You're like, oh, okay.
Did you see his grandson had a cameo in the movie as well, a TV reporter? George Reeves.
Oh, George Reeves did. I knew that Christopher Reeves' son is in there somewhere.
I thought that was Christopher Reeves' son.
I thought it was George Reeves' son. I may be wrong.
It's Christopher Reeves' son plays a reporter in the movie, and is actually a real reporter on
in real life,
ABC News.
William, right? Is that right?
Yes.
William Reeve.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, still interesting. Still cool.
Random
I don't
aside.
think those are related, by the way.
No. David Cornsweet reminded me of the drummer in That Thing You Do, and I kept waiting for him to play the drum. Like, I think the actor is Thomas Everett Scott.
Oh God,
they have very similar features.
Except Thomas Everett Scott is now 40 something.
Yes,
probably 50.
But specifically in That Thing You Do, they look then. Marcus, you're saying he lacked magnetism for you. Would you care to expand on that?
I think he did. I mean, it's funny. I think it's Guy Gardner or somebody in the books called Superman Milquetoast.
Yep.
And this is what he felt like. He felt like, I mean, he put across the whole thing about hope and wanting nobody to be hurt and those sort of things. But he lacked. I mean, as Clark Kent, we didn't see enough of him as Clark Kent, by the way. But blending into background, fine. But when you're front and center of Superman, you've got to have all eyes on you. And I mean, whether he's not quite as buff, maybe the padded suit is just a little too much. Maybe he doesn't. He is better than Brandon Routh, not better than Chris Reeves, and not better than Henry Cavill. In my view, he may probably come in at 3 of the movie Superman. But yeah, he just, and the suit itself is so. I mean, the whole color palette, like you said, it's hopeful. There's no darkness there, but it also wasn't super vibrant. Nothing really popped, so it just felt bland. And I think, I think there's probably more of him to be seen. But yeah, he was okay, just bland.
So I agree and disagree with what you said, because I view these roles as the actor has to play 2 characters, Superman and Clark. And I think he delivered what I wanted from both. I will disagree that he didn't have enough time as Clark, because those 2 big conversations with Lois were really as Clark, and they were 2 major scenes in defining the tone of the character and the movie.
But you didn't see him outside of those scenes, did you? I mean, it was just 2 scenes with the same person. You saw very minimal interaction with Perry and with anybody else in the newsroom.
Sure, but it's still a big chunk of the movie. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, I actually felt the interview things just dragged on a little too long.
And as Superman, I want him to be a little bit transparent and have less characterization, which was the problem I had with Cavill's version of Superman. Not an indictment on him, but that's really the material. I think Superman has to be somewhat transparent, because the viewer is transposing what they believe is good onto the character of Superman. And we all have different ideals of what constitutes good, like specific values of what good is. So in that sense, I like that he was a bit transparent as a Superman character, because I think he needs to be what the viewer wants him to be. So overall, I was happy with the role and the performance, and I agree with Paul in that he was the right guy for this movie, while Henry Cavill was possibly the right guy for Zack Snyder's movie. Now, moving on to Lois Lane, we've had some great Lois Lanes. We've had some not so great Lois Lanes. Marcus, what did you think of Rachel Brosnahan's job as Lois Lane, and why do I keep wanting to pronounce her name as Bro Shannon?
Well, I'm a big fan of Rachel Brosnahan. I love The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. She has got a lot of range as an actor, and I thought she did a good job. She was very passable as Lois Lane, especially when you compare it to Superman Returns and the Lois Lane that Kate Bosworth, I think it was.
Yes.
Where it was just not believable that she could be Lois Lane. But this one Brosnahan brought some steel. The arguments with Clark during the interview were quite interesting. Her ability to pilot the Mr. Terrific ship, she picked that up very quickly. So yeah, I thought overall she did a fine job. And she comes in at number 2 for me, behind Margot Kidder, who is the absolute all-time best Lois Lane, who's ahead of her time by 30 years. So yeah, I thought she did a great job. I've got no quibbles with it. It'll be interesting to see in the sequels how they build on that relationship. The fact that they went straight into, all right, she knows, we don't have to go through that again.
Right.
It's fine. It's fine, and it certainly worked better than Man of Steel with, Amy Adams running around after him on social media and this that. So yeah, I thought she did a great job. I thought she did a great job in a really good ensemble cast.
I agree. I thought she was fantastic. I love Amy Adams as an actor, so I was kind of disappointed with her take on Lois Lane. Although, again, I think it was the material, not the actor.
I think we could just blame Snyder for everything.
Yes, the economy, the Epstein. I'm going to blame it all on him. But she surprised me because I didn't know. I'm not as familiar with her as you are, Marcus, so I didn't know what to expect. But I was pretty floored with what she delivered. I mean, she had the fire and the spunk of Margot Kidder, who was fantastic in the first one. But unlike her, she was a competent journalist. So I like that she was actually good at her job in this, in the way that they showed more in the comics and also Superman, the animated series, which is also fantastic. Whereas if you remember a few times, like Margot Kidder couldn't really spell. I know that was in the days of typewriters and before word processors were really a thing, but come on, you write for a living.
You don't remember having to phone in copy to somebody and have them dictate? I used to, my first gig was writing video game reviews for the Western Mail in South Wales, and I'd have to either fax my copy into the main office or call up and have and dictate to one of the people they had there, and just it was, you didn't worry about spelling, you just got that shit out and somebody else proved it.
When I first started writing, I would just drop off discs. Screenshots were on them, and that was in the days when screenshots were delivered on giant pieces of film. So I'm glad I didn't have to worry about that. But
I remember the slides we used to get.
Yeah. How about you, Paul? How did you like Miss Bro Shannon, as I will call her?
Well, it's funny because I think that Amy Adams was a better Lois Lane. She was more tenacious. She seemed like more of a professional, competent, and really good journalist. But what I think that Rachel Brosnahan had with Corn Sweat that Amy Adams didn't necessarily have with Henry Cavill was chemistry. Like, they did feel like a couple. They did feel like people who would like each other and would want to hang out with each other and could have a conversation like they had, where there was a back and forth and they get a little annoyed with each other, but then like everything is cool because they have that chemistry. And so it's kind of weird. I mean, like, I'm on Ray's team with this one, in the sense of like not having seen Brosnahan in Maisel, but know about her and stuff. But yeah, she just, as a Lois Lane who is supposed to be Superman's, companion, I thought she worked really, really well. She just wasn't as much the super journalist Lois Lane as you get from like the comics.
And rounding out the three major characters, we also have the baddie, Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, who I've liked this guy since he was that goofy kid in About a Boy. And I just marveled at how successful he's been. So happy for him. And I think he absolutely killed it as Lex Luthor. Marcus, I know that you are very positive on his performance, so I'll let you take this one and circle back to me.
Absolutely, far and away, 1000% the best portrayal of Lex Luthor anywhere, ever. And to say that when you've had Hackman and you've had Kevin Spacey and, you've had even Michael Rosenbaum. In Smallville, and there's been numerous animated ones who've been really quite good. I mean, he certainly blew Jesse Eisenberg out of the water. But no, this felt like Luthor. This felt like this incredibly smart, rich guy who is so hates this immigrant alien. And that's what it is. And the fact that he kills somebody, and he is happy to torture, and he's happy to do anything he needs to, and it's not for something stupid like property. I mean, Superman Returns and Superman 1. I mean, you can never have too much real estate. Oh, piss off. This one, what he wanted was to obliterate Superman. And that's what drives Lex Luthor from the get-go. So I just thought it was excellent. Nicholas Hoult is fantastic. I'm kind of sorry that he's not returning as Beast in the Avengers Doomsday, because Kelsey Grammer is great and all, but it would be nice to have a younger Beast.
Marcus, look, Paul is showing leg. He's getting ready for his OnlyFans.
Oh, let's toe up, everybody. So yeah, I thought he was absolutely fantastic. I mean, you're right. As a little kid from About a Boy, to be able to come and master one of the great comic book villains of all time. With regards to his performance, he was Marvel worthy. He could have been in a Marvel movie. I'm not talking just as Beast, but he really owned the movie for me.
Marcus, could you take a crack at Carlos's question? Why are all the Luthors obsessed with real estate?
I don't fucking know. I think it's just stupid. I mean, seriously. I mean, and I'm changing position, by the way, because with my fractured back, it's right in the middle. So sometimes it's one side, sometimes it's the other. Yeah, it's just stupid. I mean, to do it in Superman 1, fair enough. But to do it again in Superman Returns, it's just lazy.
Right.
I mean, we all know, like I said, we all know what Luthor wants. He wants to be king of the castle. He wants the alien gone.
Right. I mean, for the comics I read was a ton of my collections from the 90s. I went back and read some more 80s stuff. So the version of Luthor that is, obsessed with destroying Superman for the fact that he's an alien and he makes him feel lesser. I love that they played that aspect of this character, that he was obsessed, but also self-aware when he had that scene at the end where he was like, where he admits that it's all about envy. I love that he was self-aware enough to know that. And like you said, Marcus, I love that he was ruthless and killed this guy that was friendly to Superman. He gave Superman a falafel. So that was some reason enough to torture and kill him. But I love that level of obsession and we haven't really had that in any other version of Superman. I'm so thrilled for Nicholas Hoult. Prior to this, I thought his biggest accomplishment was dating Jennifer Lawrence, but I think this he might have topped himself on this.
I thought he was great as Beast in the X-Men movies and Hank McCoy. I thought he did a really, really good job. It was restrained, but he carried McCoy's intelligence more than anything, and that would be a hard thing to do. I mean, Kelsey Grammer gets away with it because of the way he talks.
Right.
He sounds smart. But Nicholas Hoult really nailed Beast's struggles with, should I look like a human? I'm trying to cure things. Now I'm blue. I mean, there's a whole, all the stuff he invents in the movies that he's in. I think he really does he owns that character too.
And then he says, "Remember, Beast, mutant and proud." I'm like, oh, shut the fuck up.
Well, I like I said, I think I'm happy for him to be this Lex Luthor because he's just brilliant at it. And I think it's a real shame that he is not going to be Beast moving forward, because with the new X-Men coming and Marvel movies, coming out the yin yang, you need Beast who's not a 67-year-old man. You need Beast who is in his 30s, who can actually do this under the makeup for the next decade.
Well, I think they're actually going younger when they eventually reintroduce the X-Men, but that is an aside. Paul, let me know what you thought of Nicholas Hoult as Luthor.
I thought he was very good with the material given, but I'm somewhat torn about that material. Okay. So there were times, especially when he gave that little speech at the end, where he really came across as kind of like an incel, kind of like an internet troll, kind of like a Trumpy kind of person, at least to me. And there was part of me that likes that when like a bad guy is that way, because I hate those people, and when they get read for filth, it's always very satisfying. Like when you're watching SVU and they're doing like, the Gamergate, episode, and the guy at the end gets shot in the head by Ice-T. You kind of cheer even though someone just died. but at the same time, I don't want Lex to be that pathetic. I want him to be a smarter, better. I mean, he was really smart, but I wanted him to be better. I didn't want it to be. I didn't like that envy, the jealousy, the envy aspect of it. I wanted it to be more about, you're an alien and I can't trust you. And if you ever decided to turn against us, we're fucked. So we need to get rid of you now. You know, which is kind of what Batman was dealing with in
I was going to say,
Batman v Superman. You know, I kind of wanted less of the incel and more of the intelligent.
See, I don't see it as incel though. I see it as it's a representation.
Every time a woman broke up with him, he locked her in like a cage.
Right, but that I think he's a closer representation to the real villains we have in the world today. Like he reminds me more of,
that is very true, and that's
more like
it's funny
Elon.
that you
he's very Musk.
Yeah, he again, but there's something kind of petty and pathetic about those people, and I don't like that a Lex that is petty and pathetic.
But Lex is, I mean, in a lot of the books, he is petty and pathetic. I mean, it is about envy. He is the king of all he surveys, and then this superpowered alien turns up and blocks his view.
Right,
and that's the thing that, in my opinion, has always driven Lex, is this envy of Superman. This hatred of this alien who's come and is being accepted and adored, and that's why you have the internet monkeys with super shit
hashtag super shit.
Yeah. But I mean, that's the level of petty. I mean, he is doctoring video and basically trapping, catching Superman in gotchas across the board.
Right.
That is very current administration. That is petty.
And that stuff, and the funny thing is that didn't strike me as being petty. That struck me as being we're going to use the tools of the time. That seemed very smart to me. Like,
it was very Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, it was like a lot of those guys. Like, I don't know. It just sort of threw me off there for a bit.
So Carlos says Holt's performance was the best movie version of Lex, but Rosenbaum is still the best Lex. Not a fan of John Cryer, are you, Carlos?
Oh God, John Cryer. I love John Cryer. Ducky is awesome, but yeah,
he did well as Lex on Superman and Lois. That is
I
underrated
don't think he nailed it, but I liked Rosenbaum. I did, because you saw the evolution of almost like a hopeful Lex into
right.
But I still think that Holt owns all.
Right, and going on the Elon example again, I kind of like how this world has set up these, rich, powerful people. Like they had Maxwell Lord with his company, Simon Stagg and his company, and them being possible future villains in the future. We're going to see more of Max Lord in Peacemaker season 2. Don't know where we'll see Simon Stagg again, and don't know who plays him, but I hope they bring that character back to reflect the real evil in today's world. But it's not evil? RPadTV t-shirts. You can get these t-shirts on Amazon. Just search for RPadTV. We have these RPadTV certified guapo. We have I Have Friends Everywhere with RPadTV. And we have this Pinoy themed t-shirt with Joe Coy, Olivia, not Olivia Munn, Paul, Olivia Rodrigo, Haley, and RPadTV. We have a whole bunch of other gimmicks you can buy. If you
where's the Semel beer on RPadTV?
We'll get that one up soon. I'm really bad at designing things, so if there's any artists out there that want to help, please drop me a line. Let's get something going.
I thought you had your little cousins do it.
No, sadly, I don't know if any of them can draw. Well, my nephew likes drawing Pokemon, but copyright things can be an issue. So getting back to Superman, I do want to talk about the Justice Gang. Paul, I want to throw this one to you, but I need to get this out of the way first. I loved all of them except for when Hawkgirl screamed for no reason. It just seemed really stupid. it didn't do anything. She doesn't have those powers in the comics, and the whole time, I think there were like 2 scenes where she's screaming like an idiot. I guess it could be a war cry, but it just seemed really dumb.
It seemed like they were going for sort of a Black Canary thing,
but it didn't do anything.
It didn't do anything, so I don't know what the point was.
So yeah, Paul, give me your thoughts on all 3 members of the Justice Gang, and might as well talk about Metamorpho because we didn't give him a spot.
Okay, so like I said, I'm not a fan of Guy Gardner because I can't take him seriously, but I like that he wasn't taken seriously in the movie, so I thought it worked. Like, I love this scene when they go into battle and he's knocking the tanks like by basically doing a middle finger.
Yeah,
I thought that was good. I love some Nathan Fillion, and it's nice to see him. He just did a really good job in this. Mr. Terrific is another character I've never been a big fan of. Also looks really stupid, but I really liked him in this movie. I thought he brought something different and unique to it, which was good. I don't feel like we got enough of Hawk Girl to really get a sense of her. Like, I agree with you about the screaming thing. I actually think there should have been one more in that group from the get-go, and I'm a little, I say that, but except that I know that like James Gunn would have gone with somebody either really weird or stupid, like Booster Gold. And like, I hate Booster Gold, and there's no way you can get Booster Gold in there and have it be cool. Like, I think it would have been cool with like Zatanna, because then, you know, or even Plastic Man, like, might have been like, even though he's goofy, he's you know, he actually has a workable skill. Like, I think they needed just one more person in there. And so I'm glad they got.
Sorry, I was going to say Plastic Man might be a bit much with Reed Richards, I think, next week.
I did think about that. I wonder, like, how, because there's a lot of that kind of stuff. Like, how much of that do you sit there and think, like, okay, well, Plastic Man would be great. Oh, but they're doing a Fantastic Four movie, like, you know, which is kind of. I mean, it's kind of annoying because it's like, you know. What I mean, I'm not saying that this happened, but like, what if they did sort of think like, oh, you know what? It'd be really cool to have Plastic Man in this part and have him be the 4th member, and to have it be nixed because of the Fantastic Four movie seems.
Yeah, kind of but annoying. I don't think there was ever a possibility.
No, I don't think it was. But
throwing it out there.
Right. But I'm just saying that like it's annoying that they have to think that they would think of something like that. You know. But I think Zatanna would have been really cool because she brings magic to it. She's a very different character. She could have done some interesting things in that scene.
I do think it's funny that you brought up Booster, because he would have been more of a fit with Max Lord's Justice League. And also later they did have the Justice Buddies. That was actually a comic book. So he fits into that crowd more.
Right.
If you're going for something closer to the comics.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if they may have even considered Blue Beetle, but after the disaster of his movie, they were probably like, oh God, no. Like,
although James Gunn likes the actor and his take on him, so that's something that could come up in the future.
Maybe.
Yeah, but I am a massive Guy Gardner fan, unlike you. So when I was a kid, I'm like, this guy is the coolest thing ever. Like he picked a fight with Superman. I don't care that he lost. Like, I was told that he even tried. I loved Guy's comics as a Green Lantern when he rebelled and ended up with a yellow ring. I didn't like when they infused alien tech with him as Warrior. I thought that was a bit silly. And they made him a superhero that runs a bar. But in general, I love Guy Gardner. Mr. Terrific surprised the hell out of me. I know the actor from X-Men First Class, and also he was in one of the Twilight movies, or I think 2 of them, where he plays an evil vampire. But I thought he was the biggest scene stealer in the movie. He had the one more traditional James Gunn fight scene where he kicks ass to a cool song. There was a point where I'm like, he has more chemistry with Lois than Superman does. Like, I just thought he was like super cool. I loved that in the comics, they call him the 3rd smartest man on the planet. I love that a lot of his scenes. You can feel his impatience with other people, you know, not being as smart as he is, and
Yeah.
he's barely containing his anger and rage at it. He surprised me a lot. I liked Hawk Girl when she wasn't screaming. I thought she was sassy and spunky, like when they're in the Hall of Justice. But the screaming really bothered the hell out of me. How about you, Marcus? What do you think of the Justice Gang?
Mr. Terrific was fucking terrific. I mean, he's a great actor. He was really good as Darwin in the X-Men First Class, as you said. And, you know, he was supposed to come back for additional X-Men movies, and Marvel dropped the ball. I think he nailed what I would imagine Mr. Terrific to be like. I thought he nailed it. You're right. This impatience, like everybody catch up. It's not Tony Stark cockiness.
Right.
It's literally like, why am I running, the 100 meters and it's surrounded by people who are just running through sludge? He has to slow down to everybody's speed. I loved when Crypto was destroying his flying balls. That was funny. And his, how upset he was by it. But yeah, I thought he was great. Want to see a lot more of him. Hawk Girl, I didn't see enough of her as far as I'm concerned. I mean, and I can understand in a big ensemble and stuff. Guy Gardner, I mean, Nathan Fillion, for God's sake. All you've got to do is just say Nathan Fillion. I mean, especially after his, premature exits during the Suicide Squad movie.
Right.
And it was nice to see him not treated as a joke this time, almost like it's like, whatever he was called, the breakaway kid or whatever. And it's like his hand was just going so slowly, and he was a joke. We know Guy Gardner's a joke because Guy Gardner's a tool, but this version of Guy Gardner is so good, and I really hope that we get to see him interacting with somebody like some of the other Lanterns, like Hal Jordan and Kyle Rayner, and what's the other one?
John Stewart, not the Daily Show one.
Not the Daily Show one. Yeah, I mean, I would
see. I'd like to see him interacting with John Stewart of the Daily Show.
Oh God, that would be an interview. But I mean, we know the Lanterns TV show is coming, so I'm hoping that we get to see some of this. But I don't know how it's going to work tonally, because that's supposed to be more like a detective show or something.
Guy will be in Peacemaker season 2 for a little bit, at least. He has a scene, hopefully more. But...
yeah, he's going to be great bouncing off Cena. The fourth, with regards to the fourth member, I thought the fourth member was in sight the entire time in Metamorpho.
Right.
I thought Metamorpho was fantastic. The actor was so good. You could feel his pain. You could feel he didn't want to hurt Superman. You could just, there was so much there, and how he used his powers. I thought he was a very unique addition. And I really hope that he's part of the Justice Buddies, the Justice Gang, whatever they call, moving forward. Because I thought he was great, and I understand where you're coming from with Zatanna, but I would like to see a John Constantine Zatanna team up if we're going to do the magic, and it's going to come at some point. But to have Constantine and Zatanna, and not Keanu's.
I agree with Metamorpho. He was one of those characters when I was reading comics. I'm like, there's no way this guy will ever be in a movie. He's just weird looking. And I was so thrilled to see him. I love his power set. A little different. In the comics, he's often portrayed as more of a, not quite as big a jackass as Guy, but in that general direction. But I love the tone that they took with him here. I love that cry when he shot Mally, that it was Metamorpho. Rex was the one crying, after Mally got killed. So that showed how sensitive he was about not wanting to see people die. It wasn't explained in the movie, but when they show him and Joey with the blonde woman, that is Sapphire Stagg, who is Simon Stagg's daughter of Stagg Industries. So hopefully they play more on that in the future. So there are ways to get more of Rex in the comics. Paul, we didn't ask you about Rex. Did you like him? Was he too weird? Did he have gross powers?
Metamorpho?
Yeah.
Oh no, I thought he was good. I think it would have been weird if he had been part of the group from the beginning. Like I like his sort of the way he became, the way he joined the group, what he went through to get there, like, you know, all the stuff with his kid and everything, and because that was like a good motivation for Superman to like it was sort of a good inroad for Superman to get to that guy, you know, by through talking of like, this is why I'm doing this and this is why I need your help, and like, you know, your kid is sitting there watching you, or do you really want to be that guy and whatnot. I don't, yeah, like if he had been like a member of the gang to begin with and there'd been someone else in the jail, I don't think it would have worked as well. But maybe, I don't know.
Carlos adds, Mr. Terrific was the highlight of the Justice Gang. I think it helps because it shows that other metahumans are there and Superman doesn't have to go out and help, but knows he has to, so things are done the right way. And I did like when they invaded that makeshift camp that Luthor set up, and initially they weren't worried about him, like, oh, it's just the smart one. Like, I thought that was a great line. Now, Marcus, you are currently the only dog owner of the group, so I wanted you to address this version of Crypto. Did you enjoy Crypto's role in the Superman movie? Like, I don't think, how can you not?
Yeah, I know. I love Crypto. Like I said, I was concerned about how they would build him in. We know Crypto's part of the canon.
Right.
And I love Crypto so much that after they kidnapped him and they put the spikes in the electrodes in his head and were just trying to, you know, have him chase squirrels and just testing him and experimenting on him, I was genuinely pissed off. I would have killed fucking Luthor for that. So
Right.
yeah, I thought Crypto, he worked. He was like he was the little comic interlude that did work. And like I said, when you see Kara turn up drunk at the end and it turns out Crypto's her dog, it gives me hope that I will see, you know, in Supergirl next year we will see lots of Crypto. So yeah, I thought he was great. And I thought actually the CGI was very impressive.
Really impressive. Like, fur is just difficult to do, and I thought they blended him in right. He looked, you know, of course he's somewhat exaggerated because he's a superpowered dog, which does not exist as far as I know.
He could have been like,
Yeah.
I mean, he could have been really like the dog in the mask, you know, Jim Carrey's dog in the mask, when the mask gets on him and he becomes
Oh, yeah.
They could have done that with Crypto, but they didn't. There was restraint. And, you know, he was still a dog. He still destroyed Mr. Terrific's silver balls, but it came in useful at the end.
Circles.
But he was then taking out all of Lex Luthor's cameras.
Right.
Connection to I keep on calling Ultraman Bizarro because I think he's going to come back as Bizarro.
Quite possibly, yes.
That's my thing. Now, am I imagining this, or I'm probably imagining this? But Metallo wasn't in this movie, was he?
No.
Okay, I must have confused it with something else. The scene where Superman meets Luthor, and they filmed he attacked Superman and blah blah blah, and there was some sort of kryptonite there. It was on like Luthor's bangle or something, wasn't it?
It might have been. I mean,
yeah.
If I recall correctly, wasn't Metallo basically created by Luthor with the kryptonite in the comics? Someone correct me if I'm wrong.
I can't remember, but I've been watching. I was watching Superman and Batman: Public Enemies, where Metallo was in there, and I think that's probably where I got them mixed up because I was watching it last week. But yeah, I thought, you know, Justice Gang potential. There's potential there. I don't think they could carry a movie by themselves. They could certainly carry a HBO series.
Right. I love that Crypto saved the day twice. First, when he dragged him to the fortress after he got his ass kicked, and he wouldn't have beaten Ultraman if he didn't destroy all those drones. So, you know, he was funny, but he also served a purpose, which I think was important because Superman really needed his help. What did you make of Crypto, Paul?
Marcus used the word restraint.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. Like, he could have been overused. He could have been too silly. He could have been too jokey. And they just used him really the right amount. They really gave him a personality, which dogs have.
Yes.
I also really like, and this is more of a personal thing, I like what he looked like. Like normally he sort of, like if you, especially if, like in the comics and in that Super Pets movie they did a couple of years ago with The Rock, like he's kind of like a greyhound. Like he looks like a strong
Right.
kind of dog. And Crypto in this looked like a mutt. Like he reminded me of Snowy from the Tintin books.
Right.
And he reminded me of this dog that a buddy of mine has that's just adorable named Spike. I
Oh, stop it! I miss my Spike. Yeah, I haven't seen him for a couple of days, so I miss my Spike so much.
Oh, he's in the other room. He's making dinner. So I don't know what. Yeah.
So Gunn based him on his rescue dog, who looks very similar but different color fur.
Right. But I liked that it wasn't like they didn't make him a Doberman. They didn't make him a Rottweiler. They didn't, they made him like a mutt, like, and if you looked at that dog and you're like, that dog can't drag a human 30 miles an hour across open snow. Like, oh wait, yes he can. So and he was genuinely funny. And that's, again, I think that, that's something that it could have gone horribly awry. And it didn't. There was some really funny moments, and and then at the end when you find out, that he's Kara's dog and she's not a very good owner and whatnot. Like you're like, oh, okay, now this all makes sense. So
right. So let's skip more Jimmy Olsen discussion since we kind of covered it already and we're running a little bit long, but I want to talk about the visual design and art direction of the movie. Like Paul and I said, this is very much feels like a comic book come to life. And I loved the way they used the costumes and the textures instead of going for that hyper realistic thing, which they've done well and they've done a lot. This feels more like how I visualize comics in my head, especially with the costumes. Like they didn't look pristine and perfect. They looked like something that, a Kansas farmer mom would make for her son. I love that they did that. I love the colors that they used. Paul, what did you think of the art direction in this movie?
I basically agree with what you just said. It's funny because I remember there's a joke in the first X-Men movie that Wolverine is like, you guys go outside in these leather black outfits, and somebody says like, what, you for yellow spandex? And because there's always been that sort of feeling, like if you put them in these bright colored comic book outfits, they're going to look ridiculous. And sometimes they do, but it worked in the context of this movie. And one of the things I think we haven't talked about, but one of the reasons I think it did work is a lot of the scenes take place in the day, and it's a sunny day. It's a nice day. There's nice blue sky. So it all sort of worked with that. It did make me laugh that the kaiju looked a lot like Stitch from Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah, it really did. Yeah.
I don't know if that was intentional or what, but it was just, and he kind of acted like him too at first.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I see where you're going with this. But that's even that like didn't bother me. It was more just kind of like, that's
no, I thought it fit in, to the look and feel of the movie. How about you, Marcus? What did you think of the art direction?
It did seem a lot more muted than past, especially the Snyder one, and going back to Christopher Reeve's first Superman movie. I mean, that was that was quite bright in a lot of ways. With regards to that Wolverine gag in X-Men, I loved how in Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds totally reverses it, and it's like it's taken 5 years for the proper costume to come out. And then he also does it's like, what we're going to do this in black leather.
Yeah.
It seemed a little washed out to me.
I mean, it wasn't super vibrant. It wasn't. Yes, it was sunny, and there were different aliens. I mean, we see the Justice Gang fighting aliens while Lois and Clark are talking, and they're fighting some sort of space imp. But nothing seemed to really pop. And I think if you compare it to Iron Man, the first time we see the red and gold suit, I mean, it just pops. The blue of Superman and the hope, the S logo, just felt kind of washed out. It felt a little washed out to me.
Interesting. Now, moving on to music, let's talk about the score and the soundtrack. I'm going to throw to you, Paul, but first I wanted to give a shout out. I did not know this, but in the trailers, they had the John Williams guitar riff being played on a distorted guitar, kind of almost sounding like the Top Gun guitar riff. But it ended up that one of my favorite guitar players, Yvette Young, was the one who played that. And I had no idea until she revealed this last week. So I'm so thrilled for her success. I mean, she's well regarded among guitar nerds, but she's not playing stadiums or anything yet. But I do hope that people start paying attention to her music because of this excellent opportunity for her. Now, Paul, you've been critical of James Gunn's use of music in the past. What did you make of it in this movie? There are only a handful of real songs, I guess.
Right. Well, and I think this sort of proves my point. Is I think the soundtrack worked much better in this than in some of his movies because he didn't cram too many songs in, and the songs, I mean, he's had good songs in the past, but like sometimes they've been a bit too on the nose. Although nothing in superhero movies will ever be so blatantly on the nose as when in the Captain Marvel movie they have Just a Girl.
Just a Girl.
I mean, that's just way too obvious.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked the only thing I will say, and I'm gonna get smacked for this, is I think they used the John Williams score a little too much in this, and they needed to give him his own theme. Like he needs to have Superman has to have his own theme for these movies, and I don't think they really came up with one. Because that's one thing I will say about the Snyder movies is Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman all had their own kind of epic themes.
Right. But I mean, they didn't have music as iconic as Superman 78 to work with.
No. But if you don't try, you don't.
No, I agree. But I mean, you can't, it's hard. It's kind of like how in every Star Wars movie, you kind of need to hear at least that Force theme for a few seconds.
Right.
I hated later Harry Potter movies.
Right, but even with Star Wars, and granted, it was all John Williams in the main movies. When they went into the prequels and they came up with that song, I think it's called Duel of the Fates. When Qui-Gon, that's become iconic. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I think they had to do this. I did want to bring one thing up that I just read a couple hours ago that I thought was interesting. The song at the end has become very popular. Punk Rocker by the Teddy Bears.
Yes.
And Iggy Pop sings the vocals on it. And apparently the Hollywood Reporter got in touch with Iggy and asked him what he thought of the song and being in the movie. And Iggy said, "Superman is the best friend you could have."
Well, Iggy Pop's freaking cool. I mean, Iggy Pop, he's just a legend.
That's almost not the answer I was expecting for him. I thought he'd be like, "That song's shit. I hate it." That would have been more fun. No, it is a great song. As this is the song by the Mighty Crabjoys. They're an excellent band. Marcus, what did you think of the music and score?
I would have actually liked more John Williams at the beginning. To really sort of ump us into it. the rest of it, I mean, for me, when I look at a James Gunn movie, the songs he picks are almost characters by themselves, and they perfectly complement whatever action's going on or whatever the characters are going through. Now, in Guardians of the Galaxy, he had Peter Quill, who was a child of the 70s and 80s, and so he had this rich selection of music to pick from that would be, you know, from Quill's era. I mean, when there's a song called "The Rubber Band Man" that I hadn't heard until I heard it on on I think it was actually Avengers.
Yes,
but it was Infinity Warrior, and it's become my favorite song.
It's a great song.
All of this work, I felt that maybe it's because the music that was used in Superman was not really within my oeuvre, as the French would say. It felt much like it felt a little bland. The music didn't stand out to me because perhaps there's nothing I could recognize. I can understand it's a different audience, it's a different story, it's a different set of characters. But I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's only 4 real songs in the soundtrack. When I was downloading the Crabjoys, I was actually listening to the score, and it kind of does get overshadowed by the John Williams stuff, but it surprised me. I'm like, wow, the score is really good, but it might get overlooked because the John Williams stuff is so iconic that it's impossible to forget. But at least we didn't have that Margot Kidder talking scene with "Can you read my mind?" Yeah, that can stay in 78.
Yeah, that is prime 70s.
Yeah,
that like a Carpenter's video.
The song itself is good, and there is a vocal version of that song, but the Margot Kidder speaking version, not so much. So.
I think we also should compliment James Gunn for not using kind of the obvious songs like that song Superman that REM covered and
the Five for Fighting Superman.
Yeah, the Five for Fighting and Three Doors Down. Like there's you could do literally an entire 3-hour movie of just songs about Superman.
Okay, so
none of them.
Total tangent here. Last year, it was only last year where I learned that Five for Fighting was only one guy. And I'm like, why aren't there 5 of you? Like, this sucks now. Like, just you?
I was just glad that Sabotage wasn't played.
Okay.
Because that's become the de facto go-to song for anything like this. So
it kind of has. It's become like Bad to the Bone was at one point.
Yeah.
Oh,
what's that? What's Let the Bodies Hit the Floor?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was was in Blade and a bunch of others.
Yeah,
was Superman the theme from Scrubs? They use that for that. I didn't watch Scrubs, so interesting.
I don't remember. But
I never watched Scrubs.
But yeah,
I don't want no Scrubs.
One reason for the restraint might be because this isn't just Gunn's movie. He's actually in charge of the whole universe now, like Arnold was when he was Mr. Universe. So, that was always a gag that I liked. So yeah, maybe he's showing more restraint because he has more responsibility. This isn't just his thing now. Where he can do,
and it's a piece of the jigsaw, isn't it? That's all this is now, is a piece of a jigsaw, because he is part of, as you said, he is in control of the universe, and he's got his plan. And whether the box office has been good, but this Superman is sort of like, I think he's going to be the center point that everything else is going to be built around. But
it also, sorry, no, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I mean, Marvel has shown that you can't just have one guy, one character hold everything up. The supporting cast, the Captain Americas, the Hulks, the Thors, they all have to be at the top of their game too. So it'll be interesting to see how he casts the characters moving forward.
I think the biggest difference so far, compared to Marvel's last 5 years or so, is that Marvel production starts before the script is even finished, and Gunn was adamant of finishing the script, then starting production. because that's one reason there's so many reshoots in Marvel movies, because they have to change things because the script changed when production was already in full swing.
I think they've changed that now after the results of the last few. I think Thunderbolts was probably one of the first ones that didn't actually have mega reshoots. I may be wrong, but I think Thunderbolts has been the strongest Marvel movie for a long time.
Not yet. I mean, that was still the old approach, and there were reshoots on that.
Okay.
It wasn't. I forget. It wasn't just a Marvel. It was a whole Disney decision to cut back on the quantity of both Marvel and Star Wars and focus more on quality. And we'll see the fruits of that soon. I mean, it seemed like everyone was getting a series.
Well, maybe next week.
Yeah. I actually do think that is the first project. So, very quickly, how do you think Superman 25 compares to the other Superman films? For me, I think it's up there with the first two Christopher Reeve movies. Paul, what do you think?
I certainly think it's one of the better ones. I think it's the most even keeled of the last bunch. There's definitely parts of the Snyder ones that I like more, but there were also just way too many terrible parts of the Snyder movies, and so yeah, I will say this: the last couple, and not just the Snyder, but also Superman Returns. After I saw them, I was like, yeah, I don't really need to see that again. And this one I'd like to see again. I don't need to spend the $30 to go see it in a theater, but in a week or two when it's on HBO Max or HBO, I will watch it again.
It's Max again.
Is it Max? I don't care. I'll watch it when it's on HBO.
Max,
I will watch it on cable television where I won't have to worry about the streaming thing. And
you should watch it on TNT.
You should really get one of those movie passes, Paul. I mean,
they're really good.
I don't go to the movies that much. I mean, to be honest,
you have an excuse to, and then you can create more content.
Yeah.
Yes, with your feet, you could be the barefoot moviegoer.
Yeah.
I got popcorn in my toes.
The barefoot Paul Tessa.
I got blisters on me fingers.
Marcus, where do you rank Superman 25? That's not its official name, but I'm just calling it that. With the other Superman movies,
it's number 3. Number 2 is Superman the movie, and number 1 is Superman 2.
So I will go. I go 2 then 1, just because I love Zod so much.
What I'm saying, 2 is at the top, and then Superman the movie, and then this Superman.
Okay,
yeah. I mean, Neil, son of Jor-El, Neil before Zod.
Yes.
I mean, Terrence Stamp is at his campest, and Sarah Douglas is mental as Ursa.
Oh, Superman, and then kicks his ass.
Why don't you blow them a kiss? I mean, that was it was such a brilliant movie. So that's my all-time favorite. Then Superman the movie, and then Superman 25. I've got no interest in going back to the cinema to see it though. I'll see it when it comes out on whatever.
I will see it. I might go again Monday because I have a movie pass, Paul.
Well, I have the same movie pass, but I'm just.
You also have a broken back, so
I can't unfortunately sit still. But I mean, now look at me. I'm laying here with my legs up because I'm stretching my hamstrings and everything else because all that entire area is just in agony. So probably have to wrap up soon, I'm afraid, because medication.
We are going long, but let's go through this quickly then. There was a mid-credit and a post-credit scene. James Gunn has expressed, I guess let's call it regret in previous post-credit scenes that he was forced to do, even though he was told to do an Adam Warlock one, even though he had no plans for Adam Warlock at the time, and he doesn't want to do that kind of stuff again. That's why we ended up with Harry Styles as Star Fox with probably no payoff. But we have a scene, the mid-credit scene was him and Crypto, which is very cute, but ultimately nothing going forward scene. But at the end, I think there's something there with that crack in the building with Mr. Terrific. Or I could be imagining it. What did you think of that, Paul? You think, is there any meaning to the post-credit scene?
Sorry, I didn't see it. because I'd heard that for some reason I was under the impression there was only the one, and so after the scene with Crypto, I was like, oh, that's nice, and then I got up and left. So I had to go to the bathroom because I'm an old man, and old men have to pee sometimes.
Fair enough.
That's a lesson
Marcus,
for you kids someday.
what did you think? Is there any meaning between that crack in the building?
No, I think the meaning behind that one is that Superman is still learning to work with a team, and he was really upset that he pissed off Mr. Terrific. And, you know, it could have been seen as nitpicking, but it comes back to his, you know, naivety in a lot of ways, where he's like, well, you know, it doesn't quite fit. So I think that's all it was. Absolutely. I mean, I don't think Gunn wants to be setting up anything else at all. I think he's gone anti-Marvel in a lot of ways, and it works. I mean, it's a perfectly cromulent throwaway scene.
I think there's some symbolism there about, because you know how Lex said he created the pocket universe by tearing the fabric, two universal fabrics, and making a hole in it, and that's where Ultraman goes, and he could end up being Bizarro, or he could end up, you know, finding the other members of the crime syndicate there. So I kind of think that's where the divide, the symbolism of the divide. What's that?
That's the crack.
That could be the crack. Well, no, not literally, but I think it's the symbolism of it. We do know there's those quantum unfolding storage areas that they introduced in Peacemaker, where Peacemaker's dad kept all his evil inventions. That's coming back in season 2. And I think that could be used to explain the overlap between the DCEU and the DCU that we have now. Because there are 2 versions of Peacemaker in the next series, and curious to see how they resolve that. But I think there's something there, but it's not, you know, as heavily overt as introducing Star Fox. So if it's nothing, it could be nothing. Let us get out of here with this. Did Superman make you more or less excited for future DCU projects like Peacemaker Season 2, Lanterns, and Supergirl? Marcus?
I'm down for Peacemaker Season 2, provided they don't change the intro sequence. I really enjoyed Peacemaker Season 1.
Yeah.
Lanterns, I'm very curious about. I'm always down for a bit of Green Lanternism. And I wasn't really too interested in Supergirl until we saw that little cameo, and we saw that it's not going to be super cutesy Supergirl.
Supergirl definitely not.
Yeah, Supergirl who likes to go out and get shit-faced on the planets with heavy gravity. That's going to be interesting. So yeah, color me intrigued.
Paul, what should I color you? A nice green.
I would say also intrigued. It didn't change my opinion about Peacemaker, which I plan to watch. It didn't change my opinion or my anticipation for Lanterns, which I'm also curious about. But thinking that Crypto might now have a role in Supergirl makes me very slightly more interested in that movie. That's the one I'm most interested in over the 3, and seeing her in that little bit did sort of just confirm that, like, okay, she's a good choice, because she was not my original choice for that.
Sydney Sweeney.
No, Meg Donnelly, actually, who I thought would. But Meg Donnelly would have been like a more
power girl.
Yes.
Yeah.
With the boob window, for sure.
Yeah. But it does make me think that Supergirl is going to be kind of the edgy, like, you know, Superman is like Mr. Nice Guy, and Supergirl, at least initially, is going to be sort of much closer to like some of the more recent comics where she's like, I don't know if I want to be a superhero. I don't know, like, what I want to do. Like, I'm a teenager. I was sent here to, like, take care of a baby. And, like, get here and the baby's an adult. And
I will address this, but this doesn't change anything for me, because I was looking forward to all 3 of these things immensely. I loved Peacemaker, like you guys. For a long while, Green Lantern was my favorite comic series, so was always looking forward to that. A lot of this movie was based on Superman Birthright, which was written by Mark Waid. my favorite comics writer ever. So that's one reason I love it. But the Supergirl movie is based on Woman of Tomorrow, written by Tom King, which is a fantastic series that I hugely recommend. I think if it's as close to that, even 60% of the way, it's going to surprise people because it deals with a lot of the grief and trauma that version of Supergirl experienced, which is why she goes off to planets with red suns and getting hammered, because she's messed up. She did not have a well-adjusted childhood like Clark did. So I think this is going to surprise people that aren't familiar with those Tom King books. And if you're not, go out and read them. They're so good. But yes, will put a wrap on our review and discussion of Superman. Thank you guys for watching. And we will be back soon with possibly more Superman content, a Fantastic Four review. Please share your thoughts on the Superman movie below. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Raymond, that's you.